just saying, I'm an organic dairy farmer from Herefordshire. This is definitely not my comfort zone. I'm much happier being around cows. But I wanted today to be able to share our story and our journey toward becoming an antibiotic-free farm. So who we are. We're Wicton Farm. We milk 95 Holstein Freisans cows. In 2014, I came back to the farm to work with my brother following the retirement of our parents, and we average about 8,000 litres per cow. We calve in a tight 9-week autumn block, and we have a zero tolerance to antibiotics since 2015. We went organic in year 1998, so we've been organic a long time, and then went to zero antibiotic use in 2015. 2 years ago, we also decided to adopt a more holistic management approach to our farming, and that's a learning curve for us. We're definitely not perfect. We've got a huge amount to learn, and we're still learning every day. But we feel we're trying and we're doing the best with the situation that we're faced with, and we want to make a difference. So you can see we've got our new building was put up in 2012 and a new parlor in 2015, and our holistic management grazing, we did a whole year of holistic management, the grazing of the cows last year, and it was very, very successful, and we continue to improve on that. So one of the main concepts that drives our farm is treating the cause and not the symptom. So we don't want to be firefighting, we want to be solving the problem before it's even happened, and ensuring it doesn't happen. So unfortunately we're very tight on time today. I've only got 15 minutes to speak. So I'm going to try and go through as many of the things we do at the farm that we felt has made a difference. But if there is anything that you want more in depth or have any questions at the end, please do feel free to ask. The 5 points that I've got written up we feel are the ones that sort of drive the success of being non-antibiotic and reducing the antibiotics. And the main thing is attention to basic detail. None of these solutions are expensive, none of them are difficult. It just takes time, and it just takes that drive to make it happen. So it was very difficult when I was given this topic of where to begin. I discussed with my brother, where do we start, what do we talk about? There's so many different components that need to be brought together to make this successful. But we decided that the dry cows and the period between becoming a dry cow to a lactation cow is the most stressful time in a cow's life, which is what needs the most attention. So as you can see, there are several points there that we go through, and I think one of the underlying things that runs throughout this presentation is the fact that we need to treat each cow as an individual. We can't have a blanket rule for all the cows and just treat them all the same. We need to look at them as individuals, their profiles, their problems they might have. Are they high cell count? Have they got a problem with lameness? Maybe they've got issue with yonis, neospora, they're carrying twins. These are all things we need to look at for each individual cow to address that. And that comes into the dry period to make sure that we have her in a good energy and healthy status for when she calves down. We can be prepared to monitor her correctly. So the calving procedure. In 2016, we went from calving on sand to calving on a mat. A lot of people were concerned that this would be a slippery and hard surface for the cow to calve on and might be uncomfortable. We found it very, very successful. The cows are absolutely fine calving on it, and it allows us to keep that level of hygiene between the cows when they calve, and also when the cow calves, it's a very clean environment for the calf to be born onto, and that was important. We milk the cow out immediately after calving, within the first 10 minutes, so that we've got that quality of colostrum, and we give that calf the best chance. The cow's then seen to given warm water, and then we transfer the calf to an individual pen. The calf management. This is our one chance when that calf is born to give it the best start in life. That's the one opportunity we have to provide it with the antibodies it needs to have that healthy life ahead of it. So we test all the colostrum, and if it's good quality, it will be given to the calf, and they have 6 litres within 6 hours. 4 litres of that is given within the first half an hour of birth. And we don't pool any of the milk, so we don't have pooled colostrum that we then distribute to the calf. It is coming from its individual mother, and for the first 3 to 4 days of its life, that calf will receive its individual mother's milk. The cows are then identified as high health status, and we can pool that milk that's then given to the calves that are in the group pens. So they're not weaned until they're 12 weeks old, and so they have the milk twice a day, and that's taken from cows that have low cell count, no history of mastitis, often older cows that we've built up a really good health profile of, that we can take that milk from them. We only wean the calves after their solid intake is correct and also their weight is correct. So that's really important. We don't just say 12 weeks, that's the cut-off point, we'll wean them. We give that calf every opportunity to have the best start in life. So we weigh them at birth, we weigh them at 2 weeks old, and then I'll weigh those calves monthly right up until when they're in calf, and then after that until they calve. And if the calf isn't up to weight, we won't wean them. So it'll go back into the group and it'll continue being on milk. Cleanliness and hygiene is really important, which hopefully you'll be able to see throughout the photos, that we try and maintain a really, really clean farm with very high standards. So if the calf won't drink out of it, if we won't drink out of it, the calf won't drink out of it. And that is one of the rules that we have at the farm. So everything is washed with hot soapy water after feeding, and then it's rinsed down. So absolutely immaculate, and we've really found that's helped with the calf health. Milking hygiene, again, we're back to the hygiene, really important. The milking parlour was put up in 2015, and we installed an automatic cluster flush. This flushes through peracetic acid after each cow. And then last year we put in a sort of handmade trolley, nothing expensive, just a bit of metal on a roller at the top of the parlour. We push backwards and forwards that has diluted peracetic acid in, and we wash our hands between each individual cow. It's gloved hands, and each cow has an individual piece of paper to clean them between. So that's the cleanliness that we really need to maintain that at all times, so that if there's any contamination, it doesn't happen. So if a cow has got high cell count, she's not contaminating any of the other cows. So our shed was put up in 2012 with cow comfort and cleanliness in mind. We went to deep bedded sand, which prevents bacteria, so again, no contamination. It's very comfy for the cows and very good grip. It's absolutely amazing to come into the morning and see all the cows lying down. They absolutely love that shed, and we work very hard to make sure that it is up to the highest standard possible for them. There's lots of feeding space, and there's lots of space for them. So there's 10% extra cubicles than cows at all times, and so they have the space to move about, big wide passageways, and designed for their health and comfort. So the winter routine. The cows come into the shed when they start calving. So 3 weeks prior to calving, they'll come into the shed. And the nutrition is really important. We don't have a consultant, we don't have a nutritionist at the farm. So understanding those cows is paramount for us. We have to learn about what they need and what they want, so that we can make sure we tailor their nutrition accordingly. We ketone test 5 days post-calving and 35 days post-calving, all in-house, done by herself. So it's not expensive, we don't need a vet to come out and do it, and by understanding each cow and going through the results, we can then adjust it accordingly. And because we're doing it in-house, I can react to those results immediately. So I don't have to wait until our nutritionist comes out in 2 weeks' time. I can do it that night, I can change the diet, and we can make sure that we adapt it. And I think that's the key element, is not letting things drag on. We have minerals going through the water, so we have liquid mineral surfaces to provide our minerals, and again, if we're worried about that, we will blood test the cows and then we'll adjust the minerals accordingly, so it's tailor-made for us. Lots of feed space, and we have the lights installed in the building so that they'll have 16 hours of daylight even in the winter, and lots of ventilation. Many people come to look at our shed and think, gosh, it's open-sided, it must be really cold for the cows, but it's not. The ventilation allows that airflow to go through to keep a really healthy environment. Last year we installed a helicopter fan in our young stock building, again to increase the ventilation for the calves, to stop any risk of pneumonia or anything, and that's worked wonders. In the summer, the cows go out, so we get them out hopefully end of February, beginning of March, just depending on the time of year. And as I mentioned at the start, we've now started a holistic grazing approach, and this has been really, really successful. However, it's a learning curve. We've got a lot to learn, and one of the things that we found in 2018, when we had a very dry summer, was the long grass had dried out, it was very stalky, and it had aggravated the cow's eyes. So we had many issues with eyes that we had to learn how to treat them. And again, this took time, but we applied fly masks to the cows that were the most vulnerable. So horse fly masks that used for horses, we applied to the cows, and they absolutely had no problems with them, and it really helped to prevent those problems getting worse. And then we were washing the eyes out daily for the cows that had the issues. So it took time, but that little bit of dedication and attention to detail solved the problem, and all the eyes got better. And we now know what to expect. So in the future, we'll be able to address that. Clean water. That's not just photographs for this presentation. Our troughs always look like this. So the top one is the troughs in the paddocks. They're cleaned out annually, and then they're sporadically cleaned out depending on if they need to be cleaned out. If there's lots of leaves in them, they'll be cleaned out throughout the year. And then the other two troughs are the ones in the buildings, and these are cleaned out daily. And then in the young stock, we also have tip-over water troughs. The tip-over water troughs allow us to keep that water clean, so they're not really deep, and lots of muck gets at the bottom that you can't see. You can see if any sediments got in there, you can tip them out easily, refill. Record keeping. You'll often go to farms and see the kitchen table piled high with paper, receipts. Nobody knows where anything is. There's bits of scraps of paper with the cow's number on it, and no one really knows what's happening with the cows and what their profile is. So we have a very efficient system in that we have lots of record box files that we put in. 2014, we moved our office from the kitchen table into a neutral space, and it just allows us to be more efficient. So I know everything that's going on with the cows. That information is transferred onto the computer, and we can make informed decisions based on each individual cow's profile and history. It might be a light-hearted comment about the 2 doors making hiring and firing people easier, but having a good team around you is really, really important. Good communication and people working for you allows that sort of transfer of information about the animals and what's happened that day on the farm much easier. Consistency. A lot of people, it could be told to do something, they'll do it for the first 6 months, think it's a great idea, and then can't be bothered to do it anymore and just stop. If we adopt something and we feel it's having a benefit, we're very consistent about it. We're proactive, not reactive. We want our farm to be resilient in situations that we're faced with, and by carrying out regular routine checks, not cutting corners and making sure everything works, we can really sort of be successful. So that when we're faced with, as you can see the photograph of the snow at the bottom, when we're faced with very difficult situations, the farm can continue to run smoothly even though we've got added pressures. We're not having to worry about a gate that's tied up with 2 pieces of baler twine and a cow that's stuck in a corner somewhere, because that shouldn't be happening, because our farm is running as efficiently as we can make it. So the tests that we do routinely, those are the ones listed at the top, and we do make sure that we carry those out year on year for every single cow, and the heifers and the weighing, regular foot trimming, and condition storing, etc. Again, it allows us to react to situations immediately and understand our cows and the situation that they're in. Communication. We have a really good relationship with our vet. When we went antibiotic-free, this was a learning curve for them as well for us. And so having that communication with them and getting new ideas being generated was both interesting and exciting, and also really positive when we could see the benefits from it happening. We've got whiteboards all around the farm, we've got clear procedures so that nobody can say they didn't know what to do. It's all written down, and if in doubt, we'll ring the vet and have a chat with them to see what we can do. So there's always informed decisions, not knee-jerk reactions. And I think that's what often happens, is you'll find a sick cow and you have a knee-jerk reaction because you just want to feel like you've done something, rather than really understanding what the problem is and addressing it. And cow signals. Listen to what the cows are telling you. They will tell you what's wrong with them if you know what you're looking for, and really take that time to understand their behavior. Prioritization. Cows and humans are equal. We want to generate a stress-free environment for the cows, but we also need a stress-free environment for the humans. If you're stressed out and haven't got enough time, then the decisions that you make will be influenced by that. So I farm just with my brother, but both of us are trained in every aspect of the farm. So I'm not the one sat in the office and doing the calf feeding. I'm also the one out milking, hoof trimming, AIing, and doing all the jobs, and vice versa. My brother does the calf feeding and the admin and everything. So if we take time off, we know the farm is under control, and we don't have that pressure of thinking, oh my goodness, that job's going to be left until the morning, I've got to wake up and sort the problem out. So we have a very good relationship and team sort of spirit about that, but it is very important to be qualified and being able to do every job, and it's not difficult to make sure that's happening. So when I have time off, it's relaxed. Today I can be here and not worry that the cows are not going to be milked and that there's going to be a problem back at home. And the farm needs to be able to be run by one person or the team that's been allocated to do it. So again, lots of whiteboards, and we have our rota in the office. So a stress-free environment for everybody involved, sensible working hours, good housing, and correct handling facilities. So in conclusion, I think the thing to take away from here is to focus on the simple things. You might see our farm and think, gosh, they've got a lovely building and all this. We've taken a long time to achieve that, and it hasn't been for free. It's been a lot of hard work and effort, and a lot of support from different organisations to help us bring that together. But you can just have a successful farm with a ring feeder, an IBC of water, and a crusher. It doesn't have to be a cow palace. And I think getting the simple things 100% correct, light, air, water, feed, cow comfort, and good management are all the elements that you can bring together to make sure you can reduce that use of antibiotics. And we just wanted to leave you with a scenario of whether you go home tonight and you're tired and you see a sick animal, whether you just think, oh, I'll just give it some medication now and see what happens with it in the morning, or do you actually take the time to open the gate, go in, have a chat with the cow, give it some hot or warm water, check for mastitis, and give her some pain relief, give her some food, and make sure she's got all those things so that if she has got an issue, that can be alleviated just by some simple procedures. And that will have cost you £20 rather than £50. So on a business side of point of view, it's actually beneficial as well. And organic cows have simple taste, they expect the best in everything. And yeah, please help the world by reducing your antibiotic use. And yeah, time waits for no one, so it's better to start now. So that's just from Wicton Farm. Thank you very much.